Hey everyone, happy Sunday. I hope you're doing well. This is the relaunch of my Creator Journeys podcast, and I'm going to start releasing 2 episodes per week. The first one, like today, is going to be general musings from myself, just sharing all the lessons I've learned as it pertains to building a service based business, agency operations, a little bit of D2C e commerce, marketing as a whole, and also a bit of my personal life as well, which strangely people seem to think I have some things figured out, which I can assure you I don't. But I'm happy to share what's working for me as well as not on that front if people want to hear more about that. And I want to kick things off today with a critical topic that is probably the most common thing I get asked. It's Adam, if I'm starting an agency today or a service based business, how do I generate leads? How do I build awareness? How do I win more deals? This is the overwhelmingly most requested topic I get asked to create content around that's not email or D2C e-com specific. So I want to spend a few minutes today going over some critical research that you need to be aware of. Things that in the last 2 years I really learned the hard way, and bearing in mind I'm 7 years now into building Magnet Monster, and there's been a lot of highs and lows. And some of the content that I'm going to talk about today in regards to building an agency will help you avoid the mistakes I made and also make you realize the task at hand if you want to get into that consideration set of the minds of your target audience. It's absolutely critical that you understand these concepts. So essentially, what it is building brand awareness in B2B. Now, a lot of people think the term awareness is fluff and they can go out, they can hunt deals down with their ICP and just close them that way. And this is you see this come up consistently in performance marketing where people have the mindset that you don't need awareness, you just need to get in front of your prospects and then you can convince them to buy from you. But if you're familiar with things like the 95-5 rule, I will do an episode on this in the future, then you will realize that this is very naive, misconstrued thinking. It doesn't work like that. You can't create demand out of thin air. The actuality of the situation is only 5% generally of the market are in the market actively looking for the services that you provide, irrespective of what you're selling. And this could be whether it's email marketing for e-commerce brands, it could be whether you are selling skincare consultation. It doesn't matter. This is a universal rule that applies to all industries, both B2C and B2B. So the key is, and this is the most important rule and sets the premise for this conversation, when that 5% is in the market, you are in the consideration set and you will get disproportionate advantage over your competitors in potentially being selected as the chosen vendor. That also explains why the biggest brands have a unfair advantage versus the newer people coming into the market and the smaller brands. They're just more widely known about and they're more considered when people are making purchasing decisions. Let me give you an example. Let's say you want to go out and buy some new trainers or sneakers, whatever you call them, wherever you're listening from. Give me the top 3 brands that come to your mind. I'll do it myself. Okay. Converse, Nike, Adidas, or Nike. How about free CRM platforms? HubSpot, Salesforce, Pipedrive. How about free smartphones? Apple, Samsung. I mean, I don't even know, LG. The point being, if you are not one of those brands that's considered, then your chances of getting that sale is so much lower. Because in that example I've just given you, all my energy, attention, and resources are going to go towards choosing one of those vendors. They have the most trust, they have the most resources, They can advertise to me, so I'm constantly thinking about them. They're always top of mind. And I'm just more likely to buy from these people out of convenience. I mean, I can go online now, I'll probably be served an advert from them. I can go to the city center, I can go to the retail store around the corner, and these brands are everywhere. They're very convenient and easy to buy. So, rule number one, whoever has the best awareness generally wins. Now, they don't win all the time. And that's not to discourage you to say that you can't win deals against the Goliaths in your industry. You absolutely can. But you have to know what you're competing against and what you have to break into in order to give yourself a chance to compete with these people. And a lot of the time, you get to the top through just time in the marketplace. And then the reason these big giant brands end up with these type of monopolies is because they can just consistently outspend the competition over time, which makes it even more difficult for you to get into those conversations. Now, if you are in the email agency space, like myself, or e-commerce as a whole, there is probably 3 to 4 agencies who provide the service that we provide that you will think about that come immediately to mind. And let me tell you, those agencies have a huge advantage over you when it comes to winning net new business. Why? Because people know about them. They have a deeper moat of partnerships. They have more clients who will just refer them, and they have more resources to outspend you. And you just have to accept that for what it is. Now, how do you compete with these people? It's incredibly difficult. It takes time, it takes maturity, and obviously, it requires you to be better than them in terms of service. That's a given. But being better than them in terms of service is not enough, because just like those established brands I told you about before, I mean, Apple don't make the best smartphones these days. Nike is mass produced in wear. Like, it's not the most expensive, luxurious goods, but they consistently win through being in that consideration set. And that's where you need to focus your energy on getting into. It's in the consideration set. How you get there is a complex topic, but I'm just setting the stage in this episode to let you know that that's the reality that we're all facing. You have to be in the consideration set to even have a chance of winning the deal. So that's the first part I want to talk about. Awareness is critical. You get to awareness through getting your clients obviously great results, maturity in the marketplace, growing, scaling your business to be able to serve more clients. I mean, that's a given. And then you'll get a disproportionate advantage because you're able to spend more on ads, you can attend events, you'll have partner managers, you have referrals from existing clients, and then the flywheels really kick in. Okay, let's go over quick segue now into one of the most important posts I think has ever been created as it pertains to B2B marketing on LinkedIn. I'm going to share my screen and hopefully this will work. Just give me 1 second. And if you're not following this guy, you absolutely need to do so. He is a incredibly eloquent, articulate poster on all things marketing, and I really love his content. So let's just go over a few critical points here as it pertains to B2B buying. So let's hone in on this one from Harvard Business Review. 80% of B2B buyers have a set of vendors in mind before they do any research, but 80% of the time, the buyer will already have a day one consideration set before they begin any research. This will be based on brands they're already familiar with. Now, you remember that exercise I just got you to do before? That's key here. That means that only 20% of brands that are discovered after the buyer begins to research the category will eventually be added to the consideration set. So you can see here, your back is against the wall before the conversation even begins. It's very, very hard to get in the conversation. If you're not already in the conversation, your chances of winning the deal are just so disproportionately against your favor, it's going to be difficult for you to win. 55% of the decisions are chosen from the day one consideration set, 90% of the who, 60% who buy. 5% is chosen from brands discovered after the buyer begins to research the category. Not to make anyone feel disheartened, but this is the reality that most of us face. And this is why when you're marketing, you need to be reaching people who are not in the market and building awareness with those individuals. I'll link to this post as well so you can see. I'm going to stop the screen share now. So what's the whole point of the vid? Number one, you need to be heavily investing in brand awareness. Try to remember that when you are investing in marketing. It's not all about the direct response method like paid ads and outbounds. They are important, but they're only capturing a very specific segment of the market who are actively looking for a vendor in our category. And if you don't have great brand awareness, then good luck trying to compete. I actually think it makes much more sense to invest in these channels after you've built your reputation up. Why? Because you already have awareness so that when people do stumble across your ad, they've already heard of you and the trust factor is higher, and that's going to increase the performance of your performance marketing or direct response marketing. So invest most of your time, especially if you're new into a market, in building up that brand awareness. How do you do that? There's a ton of options available to you. But I recommend obviously content. I recommend paying to get the distribution on the content. And I also recommend building a partner network with people who have an audience that you don't, and how you're going to negotiate those partner agreements. I mean, you can do them financially, you can pay for them, or you can obviously do them off goodwill, but it's very hard to crack into an established partner ecosystem unless you have some type of leverage to give people in return. And again, that's why people like myself, not being arrogant, but I already have leverage of an audience. It's much easier for me to negotiate bleeding that audience with another established software company, for example, compared to someone who is new to the market. So that is going to conclude things for today. I think the take-home message is always focus on building awareness. You need to be very, very consistent with your marketing. Yes, your clients need to get incredible results. That is a given. But you need to be consistently raising your profile in your industry. That's why some of the broadest content performs best. You know, how to create a basic welcome flow, how to have a daily skincare routine. This type of content is what the broad mass audience resonates with and understands. I'll finish on a very quick, interesting story there. Myself and Vian, who, as many of you know, is now the CEO of Magnet Monster. So around a year and a half ago, I would say. Let me take a little drink of tea. I am British after all, and yes, there's a cat. I've got a Siamese, but that's a story for another day. About a year and a half ago, me and Vian were having a conversation around differentiation. And I was going down a bit of a rabbit hole in the past because he wanted to change the website to email and SMS marketing agency for e-commerce brands. And if you go on our newish website today, you can see that is the value prop. Now, Magnet Monster was always sort of built, yes, on that, obviously, but things like qualitative research, zero party data, tying acquisition to retention, very sophisticated strategies that appeal to a very specific, narrow niche audience of highly educated people in the D2C space. And we got tremendous amounts of respect for that. But you know what I noticed? Most people don't understand that shit, and most of them don't care. Most of the prospects that we were speaking to were actually just interested in generating revenue, incremental returns from email and SMS. Now, I'm not saying this again to dishearten anyone or make you think you need to dumb things down, because I have won a ton of deals of creating great quality content, and it's helped us beat some of the bigger players as well, because they resonate with that strategy and they want that strategy. But it's not as many deals as have won from just being an email and SMS agency and being known about and trusted through having a strong brand. So you don't necessarily have to differentiate. You just need to be in as many conversations and have the maximum awareness as possible. Sometimes simplicity scales. In fact, most of the time it does. So just become known as the go-to solution who solves the main problem for your ICP and have the best awareness. It's actually quite encouraging when you simplify things like this. It makes you realize that you don't need crazy differentiation. You don't need to make this so convoluted and sophisticated. You just need to get in front of as many people's faces as possible and provide a service that genuinely solves their problems. If you do that, guaranteed you will scale your service-based business. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll link to a couple of the posts I mentioned in the notes of the show. Subscribe to my newsletter every single weekend. Now, my personal newsletter, I will be releasing one of these episodes as well as an interview with an amazing entrepreneur. I'm going to create a new podcast around three components: business and obviously entrepreneurship, that's a given, personal health, as well as relationships. I think this is the holy trinity, the trifecta of living a great, successful, happy life. And obviously, most people are interested in entrepreneurship, but what I want to find out is how the world's top performers are able to balance those other two facets of their life as well. And that's what I'll be going deep into in the new podcast. So I hope you enjoyed that. Any questions, drop me a message. Peace and love. I'll speak to everyone soon.